So, my Season 3 video got a lot of attention, didn't it? Never mind, don't want to harp on that. Let's talk about Season 4. Season 4, in my opinion, as you can tell by all this, is the worst season of the show. I'm not sure I would say by far, as there's a lot of elements as Season 5 kinda does some stuff worse. And Season 5, and maybe even Season 6, are both overall more hated than Season 4. So, I might be in the minority in considering it the worst season. But, I do. Sorry. And, no, it's not just because of the Frozen arc. I actually think the second half of the season is worse than the first, which I'll explain as we go through the video. This season destroys characters. It's really hard to sit through. It's really hard to go through this whole season and just see things in Season 4. It does not do well, which it feels like a lot of it feels like a worse reason of Season 2. If Season 2 had, for the most part, had unlikable, boring, and stupid characters, and a stupid, nonsensical plot and villain, which it didn't. Like Season 3, Season 4 is broke up in two, so we're going to stick to that format for this video. Unlike Season 3 though, there is much less ambiguity. There is much more to connect the two seasons. So, a lot of the subplots in Season 4A lead into Season 4B, and while with Season 3A and 3B, you can basically watch one without the other, and you won't miss much. You definitely need to watch 4A before 4B. I think that's pretty set. Obviously, I like Season 3 a lot more, but Season 4 connected its two halves a lot better. It still kind of feels like a complete season, despite still being primarily split in half. But we're going to structure it the same way, because I still think these two halves are very different. Even if, again, it's just a subplot this season. The first half season. So let's do this. Okay, so like with the last video, let's start with a bit of a recap. Zelena, aka the Wicked Witch of the West, has imprisoned the Dark One after bringing him back to life, after he sacrificed himself, and kills his son in return. And therefore, Rumpel kills her in revenge to avenge his death, while lying to his girlfriend that she had the dagger. Let's see. And then it opens a time portal, which Emma Swan and Killian Jones fall through, and basically are primed to start a relationship. Everything seems like sunshine and rainbows until it turns out the person Emma chose to save from the evil Queen Regina is the wife of the person that Regina is currently with. May marry her. So yeah, that's where we left off Season 3. Oh, and Weird Ice Cream was there. Forgot to mention that one. But So, now let's talk about Frozen 2. I mean the first off Once Upon a Time Season 4. I don't know how I made that mistake. So, Elsa, who is freezing everything in Storybrooke, seems to be, and no one knows why. And Emma, the sheriff, goes to talk to her and realizes that she's actually a nice person, a lost person, who is looking for her sister Anna, who has gone missing, because she was the only thing which could help her control her powers. Now, I do think that this contradicts the first movie, because, well, Elsa learned to control her powers by herself. It wasn't just Anna. Wait, what am I talking about? The first movie. This is about a different show. But never mind. But yeah, that's the thing. So, Elsa has put so much that she put an ice wall around the town. But she cannot take it down when she finds out that they're not keeping Anna because they haven't found her. So it's very clear that someone else has her powers, has the same powers as her, and is keeping the wall up. This person is nicknamed the Snow Queen, even though she is not a queen and she has nothing to do with the classic character of the Snow Queen I saw in a panto once. So this Snow Queen injures Maid Marian, who Regina was obviously in competition with. And Regina previously was starting to turn evil, but this basically gets her out of that mindset as she figures out a new plan to find the author, which, surprisingly to her, Henry is all for. Next up is them looking for her palace, which they don't find until Belle comes into it, which actually has some plot relevance, which doesn't revolve around Rumpel. It turns out she was in Arendelle and met Anna, but it didn't end that well between them. Belle sets out to find a hat which can remove all of Ingrid's powers. But what she doesn't know is the dagger she is holding is fake, and Rumpel wants the hat for himself, and decides to go where he wants to get it. So Ingrid, it turns out Ingrid knows who Emma is somehow, and knows who Elsa is. She tells Elsa that she's her aunt, and that Anna trapped her in the urn which brought her to Storybrooke. Elsa, obviously, does not believe her, but we don't know yet if she's lying or not. So, yeah. After a big freak out, Emma runs away, and as this runs away and decides that her powers need to be removed for everyone's safety. This benefits Rumpelstiltskin, who is trying to get all this power for himself so he can, like, open this box. So he's trying to gather power into his hat, which will somehow open a box, which will somehow let free himself from the dagger while still keeping the power, something that we never thought was possible but actually is. Okay. Some people may be thinking a few things. One, a lot of this doesn't seem like Once Upon a Time. Two, all these plots seem like a bit disconnected. Like season 2 convoluted. And 3, this feels like a sequel to a movie and not Once Upon a Time season 4. All of this would be 100% true. Kind of subjectively, I guess. I mean, the main character feels like Elsa with Emma as a supporting character. And the Regina and Rumpel stuff doesn't really overlap with the plot as much as it should. Hell, the Regina stuff is mostly there to set up the second half, not to play an integral role in the first half. While the Rumpel stuff does connect to the main plot, it is still mostly just there to set up the second half, and doesn't really have as much purpose as the first half. Rumpel is trying to trick them that he has changed, but it doesn't work because he actually did change, and yeah, especially compared to Regina and Hook, who have been shown, who are said to have changed, but they haven't shown it entirely. While Rumpel is acting all evil, and arguably he's changed more than both Regina and Hook in season 3 when he sacrificed himself. And this is a big nosedive because they decided to falter him. And what's worse is that they don't really say the reason for why Rumpel wants to do this. I'll talk about this more when we get onto the characters, because Rumpel's characterization in this season in general, not just the first half, it kind of gets worse in the second actually, really fails and really ruins one of my favourite characters and turns him into just a bland, pure evil villain. Really disappointing there. So Emma asks Gold to take her powers away, which he does, but obviously plans to trap her in the hat and take her power for himself so he can do his stupid plan. But at the very last minute, Elsa tells Emma not to give up who she is and convinces her to stop, angering Rumpel, who instead decides to capture Hook's heart and trap all the fairies instead. Meanwhile, Ingrid is planning to cast a spell to make everyone hate each other, so it will be just Elsa, Ingrid, and Emma. Can I just say that it is beyond creepy that Ingrid keeps referring to Elsa and Emma as her sisters, even though she is double their age and Emma's and Elsa's aunt, for fuck's sake. What? It is beyond creepy, okay? It is very creepy. So Ingrid gathers enough magic to cast this curse and agrees to spare Rumpel and find a way for them to leave. But unfortunately, he can't. Yeah, they cannot, and Rumpel stays. The spell is cast, and the Snow Queen is defeated by just Anna being found, being like wished here, and then finding the original letter, which it turns out, very predictably, the mum didn't actually hate Ingrid, and basically decides to just give up all the power, give up her plan just because of one letter. Is talked down like a last minute act of redemption. I don't think it's as bad as it is, but I don't think it's as bad as it sounds, but it is still a really badly played scene. So everything is now hunky-dory, right? Well, that's what they think, but again, Rumble still has to pull off his plan as he's already trapped all the fairies in the hat. Which he should have only trapped one, really. So, and Belle finds something else and finds out that Rumpel's true love is his power, which is stupid. But so Belle banishes Rumpel from Storybrooke. And we end on him going to find Ursula. No, not the Ursula that was shown for a second in season 3. A new Ursula. Oh, and also, because I forgot, Marion is cured because all of the Snow Queen's magic is returned, but she isn't entirely cured and has to leave the town, so Regina and Robin have to give up her love so Regina can so Robin can look after Marion. Yeah. So they have to say goodbye to each other. Okay. So that's where we end off Season 4A, also called the Frozen arc, but I call it the original script of Frozen 2. Okay, I know the actual original script of Frozen 2. This season is so focused on Anna and Elsa. I don't really talk about the flashback sequences in my plot summaries. I'm planning on doing a whole big video on flashback sequences after the season rundowns are over. But just for clarification here, all but one, actually two, no, all but one flashback sequences don't feature one of the characters. Doesn't feature one of the characters who got introduced in this half season. They're either about Anna, Elsa, or Ingrid, the Snow Queen. Well, also two actually, because one is the finale. One is Emma's orphanage with Lily. It feels like linear story, and we don't. Of course, a lot of the time, characters we know would appear with the characters back then, but it's just unbalanced. It feels too focused on them, on their story, and the only character who feels central to this plot is Emma. Rumpel and Hook's subplot kind of connects, And they try and tie Regina's subplot in there, I guess, but nothing else really works. I mean, what am I even saying right now? A lot to say. But I'm just gonna get on to the characters, because characterization is one of this season's weakest points. Both in the first half and the second half, but primarily in the second half. You might find that a little unbelievable considering how much I've complained with the characterization here. But yeah, it's actually much worse in the second half. So stay tuned for that. We'll start with Rumple because I just want to get the worst piece out of the way. Okay, so Rumple, while characters like Regina and Hawk have apparently changed entirely, and anything to the contrary is just this, Rumple, in my opinion at least, was much better than Regina in at least 3A. In 3B, he really didn't do that much because he was controlled by Zelena. You can argue that the death of Neil or Balefire corrupted Rumple this way. But that is never shown to be the case in this season. Yes, it's entirely shown to be the case, but it's real later in the season that his plan was in place for a long time, which doesn't make any sense because why would he free himself from the dagger? I was really annoyed because he was hiding the dagger the whole time. Why was he using it in front of Anna? Why? It doesn't make any sense because in flashbacks before we had only seen Rumple with the dagger in the very far past. He hasn't been seen in public without it. If he was going to use this box, it doesn't really make sense. And his plan is just stupid anyway. We don't really find out how this box is supposed to remove his power from the dagger, or why anyone thinks this. Why anyone thinks that the power would succeed. It's just a strange deal and doesn't make much sense, like, at all. And again, his character he's portrayed as all evil, pure evil. He's not portrayed to have any redeeming qualities, which is in sharp contrast to the rest of the season, where he's portrayed as the no good one, which it feels like one of the characters really hated Rumple and really loved Regina in this season, because that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, and it is annoying as hell. Rumple acts so out of character here. It feels like he's being controlled, because he was never this evil. I was gonna say he feels like season 1 Rumple, but honestly, he feels worse than that, because Rumple pre-season 1 wasn't selfish. I think that they could have done all this stuff with the hat and make Rumple go back to being evil, and even make him with dagger stuff, but have it be a crucial part. Have his motivation to get enough power be to reverse his mistake and bring his son back from the dead. Have that be his motivation to make it make sense. That will make complete sense for his character, and you can still do everything you did. And it wouldn't be it. But alas, it wasn't to be. Time to cover Emma now. Emma is the only character part of a plot this season. Right, is a central part of a plot. And she's just uninteresting. She's genuinely uninteresting. I was surprised at how boring she had become. She's just not interesting anymore. I don't feel like she has any qualities this season. She's just there to be fair. Her relationship with Elsa is kinda nice, but it doesn't have any bond. This doesn't feel like the Emma from seasons 1 through 3. And she doesn't feel like she does anything wrong either. And stuff like her just keeps getting full on, portrayed as like plot traits. And I really, really, really don't like how they treated their main character this season. It's like if this was Frozen 2, this new character was just the boring one. Now it's time for Regina. This is where I entirely agree with her critics. Regina in this season is awful. She treats Emma like absolute crap, which is unwarranted and unneeded. Because yeah, it was by accident. No, it should be easy to forgive her because again, it was by accident. And in one scene, like Regina says, "You've never had my back." Are you kidding me? Emma has been the one who's had Regina's back the most after Henry. Emma has been the only one to defend Regina on a lot of occasions, like when she was accused of killing Archie. Sometimes in Neverland, even in like after the curse, she was the only one to not believe Regina cast it. So it feels like Regina's not giving Emma enough credit. It doesn't. It feels so stupid. But then again, it's not all bad because I do think Regina gets a good arc in the first half of how she has to let go, because I do like how she's trying to save Marion despite the fact that it would benefit her a lot more if she didn't and just started out with going out with Robin anyway. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for her. Shame that gets all undone in the second half, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Then we have Hook, whose usual screen partner here is Rumpelstiltskin, and he's basically portrayed as in contrast. Rumple is the one who hasn't changed, while Hook's the one who has. The question is, we didn't really get a full look at Hook changing. He just had a relationship with Emma, and she changed him, shifted him. It was just a little strange deal of how this all happened. It wasn't really a great comparison because in like season 3, Rumple changed more than Hook, in my opinion at least. In like season 3, in like every time that Hook was using, that Hook did a good thing, it was to gain Emma's affection. Rumple, on the other hand, did entirely selfless acts. Well, you can say that the entire thing was selfish. I do think it was some things were entirely respectable, but I do think a lot of the reasons were Hook's just competing for Emma's affections. But I'm not going to be a super Captain Swan hater here. I'm just going to argue that they shouldn't have put that much effort into it. His relationship with Emma hasn't got super toxic yet. That doesn't really happen until season 5 and 6. So, I kind of like it here, actually. It feels kind of healthy right now, at least. But, yeah. I mean, it's not as good as it was in season 3, but we haven't got to the worst of it yet. Now there's Snow and Charming, who I didn't mention at all in my season breakdown. And I think some of you are confused. The thing is, they have zero involvement in the plot. They are mostly just there to be supporting players to Emma, do some stuff. They get a few subplots of their own, like how David is trying to be a better sheriff, and how Snow is becoming the mayor despite not having any election process or anything like that. Like, how did that happen? Just because she casts the curse on me, she's the mayor. And this goes absolutely nowhere and gets completely forgotten about after this half season. I'm surprised it got more than a few episodes focus, because it just is very unnecessary. These two are pointless, and I was disappointed because they're my favourite character, but being pointless is better than being unlikable. Completely unlikable and out of character. Remember this! Remember this statement. And then there's Henry, who was an integral part of seasons 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. But here, he doesn't really do much but support Regina's story, which is not really doing much except setting up season 4B anyway. He has a small subplot about hiding out in Rumpel's shop, which still doesn't really go anywhere. We only have like 2 scenes of him actually working for him. It's just uninspiring, and there's not much to talk about here. So, I don't know what to say. Said a lot of bad things in this characterization segment, but now I have some good things to say. Belle. Belle is great this season. It's honestly one of her best seasons. She gets independent moments. She's very likable. She has some plot relevant stuff to do aside of Rumpel, like her flashbacks with Anna, and yes, and her book knowledge comes into view. She actually interacts with other characters outside of Rumpel. She's still central to Rumpel, but she has a lot of stuff outside of it, which is good. It's cool. I like how she's betrayed, and with all praise. I like her relationship with Varys. I like her being basic. I like Belle this season. She does way more than she was in season 3. And we'll get to this more soon. And then we have Will Scarlet, a character literally only there to promote a spin-off. That isn't a joke, that is literally the only thing he is there for. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Not really literally, I guess. Why did you just use the word like that? But never mind. Will Scarlet, I kind of like him. He's kind of witty. I like his banter with Hook and David. But yeah, he doesn't really do much. Again, he's mostly just there to promote a spin-off and nothing else. He doesn't feel like a main character, he just feels like a guy who keeps dropping in. And it's kind of strange. So, that's the main characters finished. But I wouldn't say a lot of them are the main characters of 4A. Only the first four I talked about, and maybe another one later. As I said, Snow, Charming, and Henry really didn't do anything of note, and Will is just there to promote a spin-off. The rest, well, I guess their main status is deserved. Hey, who even knows? Now let's go on to the secondary characters, which don't really qualify as secondary characters here, but let's just get on to them anyway. Okay, and now we're starting with the Frozen characters, because, well, they're the main focus of the season, whether you like it or not. Firstly, there's Elsa. While you're not supposed to, well, take it seriously with a sequel to the movie, I might just be comparing the characterization to the movie. Because, again, most of the movie has been implied to happen. I do not think this is a bad decision as much as it seems, because, like, riling up Frozen as, like, a twist in the story, it was only told once. So I don't think it's that important to give it a twist. Because it's not being retold in so many ways, like all the other stories in this show. So I don't mind them doing basically a sequel to all these things. It's kind of poorly played out, especially because, like, it feels like Elsa gets past character development because she changed by herself and now she's just nervous about controlling her powers again. Maybe this happens in the actual sequel too. But I don't like it. I think Elsa had great development where she learned how to control her powers, and just a lot of this is just, at least the beginning, is just her learning to control her powers again, which is just boring. And like the stuff in Arendelle in the past is also quite boring. And now there's Anna, who the majority of what we see with her is in flashbacks. Unlike Elsa, I think they really capture the Anna of the movie. She's bubbly, she's excited, she really cares about Elsa. She's not a fan of authority because she keeps going off on her own. She doesn't know much about the outside world. She's uneducated, she's funny. She's fantastic. I still really love her, and I like her interactions with our characters like Belle and even David, who I didn't mention has an episode with Anna because it doesn't really factor in much of a story, but I like it in general. I kind of wish she was the one in Storybrooke and got more time in than Elsa because she's much better, but I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I want to briefly touch on Kristoff. I don't think I'm going to touch on Hans here because not that relevant. Kristoff isn't that relevant either, but I want to briefly touch on him because he is also fairly portrayed well from the movie as well. He's still a good character here, and he's fun, and it does capture the spirit that it was in the movie. Anna and Kristoff's relationship is great here, and yeah, it really does feel like the movie. Then, of course, there's the main villain, Ingrid, who is so bad. I know some people like her, but I don't see why. again, her relationships of how she calls Emma and Elsa her sisters is nothing short of creepy. But beyond that, a lot of her motives just make more sense. For one, her backstory doesn't make any sense. So her backstory is revealed to be her sister trapped her in the urn because she was scared of her powers. The thing is, Ingrid hid her powers until this moment. So why is Ingrid so in control and so good at using her powers when she's been stuck in an urn for decades and be done? Also, why didn't she age? And her plan is just so weird. Why does she want people to hate each other? Why does she think that's the most effective way? If she thinks it will bring up their true feelings, it just sounds like she's stupid because, yeah, they're all bad based on one person, because one person didn't even turn on me. It doesn't really make that much sense that this revenge is done. I really don't like this. And even then, how did she get enough money to open an orphanage? How did she buy a building in Storybrooke and just with ice cream ball? How did she open a foster home when she knows nothing about fostering and just entered this world yesterday? Why didn't she age while she was on Earth? Why was her redemption so quick? She's just a bad villain. She's just a bad villain. There's nothing more to say about that. Yeah. Some people might be thinking, this was a frozen recreation. Where the heck is Olaf? Well, Olaf is never seen or mentioned in the entirety of this arc. Why? Well, we didn't want to spend that much money on the CGI budget. That is why. But for what Sonian reason? I don't know. Maybe Olaf just didn't exist in our universe. Or maybe memory magic or something stupid like that. I was going to talk about Robin in this section, but I'm not. I'm going to talk about him in the second half, and that will be my full segment for his entire usage in the entire season. Okay, so that has been the first half of Once Upon a Time Season 4. And despite my continuous complaining throughout this video on stuff like nonsensical plot, awful characterization, and making this feel like a completely different property, I don't think this was the worst thing to ever come out of it. It's one of Belle's best, and overall, they didn't betray Frozen that terribly. I like how Anna and Kristoff were betrayed, and a lot of the stuff in Arendelle, like the long lost aunt, isn't that bad of a plot for a Frozen sequel, and a subplot with Hans trying to take over the kingdom. That's a comfortable subplot which makes sense to follow on from the first. Yeah. But there is much worse than this arc, than the first half of Season 4. Case in point, Season 4B, aka the Queens of Darkness arc. We're about to enter a very dark period, in my opinion at least. Brace yourselves. Let's move on from Frozen 2. I mean the Once Upon a Time Frozen arc and get on to the second half of that season. So we begin where the first half left off, where we start with Gold meeting up with Ursula, and then they go to see Cruella, and he offers a deal. He's taken inspiration from Regina in finding the author so we can get his happy ending. And he offers Cruella and Ursula the same thing, and they seem to accept. So they go to the border and try to make sure that the heroes let them in by using Regina, saying that Cruella and Ursula have both turned over a leaf as well, and it relies on Gold trusting them, as Gold can only get back into the town if they trust him. Luckily, there is a lucky opportunity to do this, as the Storybrooke gang are currently fighting someone who they fought once, who we know as Chernabog from Fantasia. I'm not kidding. They literally call him the Chernabog. So this is the Chernabog from Fantasia. Okay, I don't know where they keep pulling these characters from. So they all get into Storybrooke, with Cruella and Ursula choosing to get Rumpel into the town. But then we find out that they are going to resurrect Maleficent, which is possible, despite them constantly saying throughout this season that it's impossible to resurrect another guy who died. And Snow and Charming are unrealistically untrusting and lie down about something, which we don't know what their problem is yet. They seem to be really worried that they would tell a secret. But of course they end up being right that Cruella and Ursula aren't bad news. Snow and Charming are acting really out of character right now, and we don't know why. So once they realise that Cruella and Ursula aren't up to no good after all, along with, resurrecting Maleficent, they send Regina undercover to work with them. And it works. Sort of. She has to prove herself, which she kinda does. Enough, I guess. Whatever. And then everyone... So she finds out their plan, which is to do something she did, where they get Pinocchio to, be interrogated. And they turn Pinocchio back into August, which, fixing one of the show's dumbest moments. Hook tries to get Ursula to betray everyone by revealing that by getting her back her happy ending. It seems to work well enough. So they now know Gold's plan, which is to fill Emma's heart with darkness, because she's in charge of the happy endings. So it makes sense that if her heart is dark, then she'll give the Dark One a happy ending and not the good guys. We then find out the truth of what Snow and Charming did to Maleficent. Maleficent was pregnant when Emma was born, and they found out there was an equal chance, just an equal chance, like every baby in history. There was an equal chance of her turning out to be good or evil. So they decide to get the potential, not the darkness, just the potential for darkness out of their baby and put them into Maleficent's daughter. Just because it was convenient for them and they were so unsure that she was going to turn out like that. This is a really stupid twist. It is very out of character for Snow and Charming to do this. Maybe not to care about Emma this much, but this big moment in the backstory of them doing such a horrible thing makes us question, like, what, like, if they've done this horrible thing before and felt guilty about it, why wasn't it brought up before? Especially when, like, remember when we destroyed Maleficent's baby? We can't make that mistake again. We can't do something bad like that again. Why didn't it come up then? Because that would have been the perfect chance if they've never done something this abhorrent. And this is way worse than killing Cora. Way worse, because I still maintain that killing Cora was a necessary action. It was, okay? It was. But bar that, let's just talk about how it doesn't make sense for the characters, because, well, yeah, it doesn't. Let's talk about why it doesn't make sense thematically. Because it implies that Emma had no potential for darkness until this season, for reasons which were never really that well explained. What? When Emma became a thief for 6 months to a year, she had no potential for darkness. When Emma took months and months to believe, she had no potential for darkness. Hell, when Emma was just not caring about her family and not wanting to, she had no potential for darkness. Emma's not a paragon character. She's not a pure of all character. She's a reluctant hero type who's got mystery about her. She's an orphan. She's incredibly flawed. She's not a pure of heart character who always does the right thing, or always thinks she's doing the right thing. Like, for example, Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's a character who, pure of heart, code. Emma doesn't fully have a code. Unlike the rest, she doesn't. Yes, she's probably one of the most moral characters in the show, other than Snow and Charming, but she's not the most moral, and I definitely don't think there was no chance of her turning evil, and she has definitely made some bad decisions before. Which is relevant because we'll get to that. So, yeah. And another problem with Snow and Charming, don't feel that much remorse for this. They don't even say they regret it. I mean, they seem a little guilty, but not enough. Like they had no trouble committing the act in the first place. It was only after they sent this, like, positives, like, negatives, like, we can't, she'll turn out just like Maleficent, of course she will, without, like, any, like, hope that she won't, or anything like that, and, like, not caring, like, you can't stoop to their level. They have no trouble doing the deed in the first place, just after, and again, they don't, and They feel guilty more for lying to Emma, which was bad, than anything else. Than actually doing the thing. We'll talk more about this, because it gets worse later as more reveals come out. But let me just tell you, this isn't even the worst twist of the season. That is still to come. Boys, that's still to come. Not by far. It is not the worst twist of the season. By far. We will get to that. Just... So Snow and Charming tell Emma the truth, finally. And after that, they decide to free the author. As we find out he has been trapped in a prison inside the book. I am serious. I'll talk about my problems with the author storyline a little later in the video when we get to the characters. Especially when we talk about this guy, Isaac. His name is Isaac. So they tell Emma the truth after the whole thing. And because Regina gave them a fake page, they find out that Regina has been tricking them all along. So because of this, they want to throw her out, but Gold is for some reason confident that Regina will listen to them. Why? Well, he's about to tell her something shocking. As Regina seemed worried about Robin Hood, Rumpel says she was right to be. Well, why? Why would she be right to be worried? Well, when he went with Marion isn't Marion at all. It is Zelena. So yep, this is what I'm talking about. This I wouldn't say is just the worst twist of the season, but I go as far as to say this is the worst twist in the entire show. First of all, it completely undercuts Regina's arc of the last season of wanting to give up on a happy ending just so her husband can be happy at the sacrifice because she was working so hard for Marion. It just makes sense that, well, maybe she was right to be suspicious, maybe she was right to be incredibly jealous and turn evil again to kill Marion. It feels like rewarding Regina's actions from that entire scene, when her arc in that entire scene was trying to deconstruct this. Also, the season makes no sense in general. This twist makes no sense in general because Marion, for example, for one, Marion got frozen. They don't explain how the freezing magic actually worked. They don't. So, how did her getting frozen not change things? How did her getting frozen not make a change back? I mean, the glamour spell must be really strong if it can sustain such a spell which can't even be woken up. Like, it can't be. No. So did Jules' kiss not work because it's Zelena? But they seem to be leaning with Marion like the entire time. Also, why the hell is her heart not up? We see Regina take out Marion's, I guess Zelena's heart. It's fine! Why is it not super dark? You could blame that on Heart Lore in Once Upon a Time being inconsistent anyway, but it still doesn't make any sense how her heart isn't super dark when we see it. And I know this would give it away, obviously, but you can't convince me that this wasn't done, because they never mention her getting frozen. Hell, when they take her back to Storybrooke, there's no mention of how it cured her or anything. Or was Zelena just being frozen? Also, Regina did a lot of research on how to save Marion, so she would have detected if there was other magic involved if she was studying Marion's body this much. She would have detected the glamour spell. She would have. It doesn't make sense how she didn't. Did it disguise Zelena's heart as well? Somehow? Just nothing about this twist makes sense. You cannot convince me that this was planned from the start. What hints were left? What? And also, you might just think that something I haven't mentioned yet. Isn't Zelena dead? The way they explain that is very, very, very stupid. So apparently, no, she didn't die. She just became a beam of energy. Her energy just left her body. They didn't say why or how or anything of that happening. We just scrammed across it like it was nothing, because she was very clearly dead. She got whipped into the time portal. She followed them through and decided to become Marion. How did Zelena even know who Marion was? She became Marion to spoil Regina's happy ending. How did she... Again, how did she even know who Marion was? Another thing is, yes, we are still not done with naming how stupid this all is. Another thing is, why is it still working? I mean this. Why didn't it fail? Because it should have failed, right? I mean, how didn't it? Because they're in the land without magic now. The glamour spell would have worn off. Apparently they just say this is imported magic, but we never explain how that means, how it works. A lot of these things do have small explanations from them. They're not good enough because they're not expanded upon or given their time to fully be explained. This thing has so many damn plot holes. Again, you can't convince me this was planned from the start. I do not believe that. I believe they couldn't think of a way to end this storyline. They could not. So they decided to just do this. Just say that the character they killed off wasn't that. Seriously! The conversation must have went like this. I don't like it. What? I don't like that Robin just left. It feels like there should be more. What do you mean? I mean, why? Why is this happening? Meaning? I've got an idea. What? You know Zelina, that Wicked Witch character? What? We killed her off. Let's say she's not dead and she's controlling Marion. That makes no sense at all. Well, what other ways then to end this story? Loads, with loads of ideas. Let's just do it. Fine. So, Regina plans to go to New York. How? You ask? When no one could come back if they leave Storybrooke? Well, using the Snow Creed scroll. Even though before it was only meant to, let people back in. It just doesn't make sense, and it's never explained how they actually got back in, just how they got out. But first, Henry gets captured by Cruella, who wants them to kill the author or she'll kill Henry. But they can't, because it turns out Cruella cannot hurt anyone because of Isaac's interference. And they get killed. And Emma, in desperation, kills Cruella. Now, I'm not sure if this will be called so. Now, this was less justifiable than Cora's death. Yet it's treated like it was necessary act. Yay! Who even knows how logic works in this show anymore? So Regina is about to go to New York to find Robin. But when Maleficent asks for help finding her daughter, who is called Lilith, who survived the trip there, Emma has to find her, and she decides to go with Regina as she realizes that it is her friend Lily. What? Okay, so this twist, I'm not sure I'll call it that, was obvious because we saw Lily in a flashback in 4A, and it was obviously going to lead to something, probably adult Lily appearing. But I hate this. I really hate this. Fate stabbing everything has to be defined by their lives. I hate that their lives have to be so connected. But go on, throw something else in there. Something that isn't coincidence, was just fate putting them in the back. I mean, does fate control everything in our universe? I guess it does. Whatever. But Lily, well, I just want to scratch on this a little bit. Because the Lily episode kind of intrigues me. Now, Lily is plagued off as this person who, despite what she's tried, always makes bad decisions and she doesn't know why, except when Emma's around. But as I said before, Emma hasn't always made good decisions, so it doesn't make much sense. And Lily has never made a good decision in her life, and she doesn't know why she keeps making bad decisions. But again, you can argue that they are all good decisions because they've all led to goodness. Fuck off. No, they haven't. Be serious. And like saying that every character's only made good decisions and one has only made bad decisions. It's never explicitly said either time, but it's definitely said that Lily is primed for bad decisions, but Emma's never been primed for good decisions. So I don't know what's going on here. And again, they don't really explain why Emma turning to the darkness is viable now. And it's not, as in this thing, because Emma gets tempted to kill Lily, and again, we don't get why. Kill Lily because of Snow and Charming, even though she's not getting along with him now. Because she wants to kill Snow and Charming because she can only make bad decisions, which again is dumb. I do kind of like Emma and Lily's bond, but this means nothing. One of the reasons I'm complaining about this Emma and Lily storyline so much is that it never gets brought up again. It is completely forgotten for the rest of the show. Lily gets one mention. There's one hint about her trying to find her father, but that's it. I assume there were plans for Lily, but they didn't use her at all. And Lily's not the best character anyway. She's not played by the best actress when she comes into it. Honestly, her child actress was better. And even then, the storyline's so far-fetched, I don't really care. I just don't. Now, let's get back to the plot before this video gets even longer because of my endless ranting. So, Emma and Regina get back to Storybrooke with Lily, and also Robin and Zelena. Regina locks Zelena up as she gets the pen from the author and basically takes him from Gold, who is dying because his heart is growing too dark. Okay, I'm not going to do another 5-minute rant on camera. I'm just going to wait until we talk about Rumpel himself later in the video. I don't want to make this video 2 hours long, even though it probably already is. But anyway, that's what happens. Jean takes Rumpel back, and she decides to write a happy ending, but then she decides, oh, no, she doesn't need to write anything, because she doesn't need it. She's already got what she wants. So, Isaac, wanting a better story, just decides to screw all this and teleports to Rumpel's shop, where he writes Rumpel a happy-ish ending and basically writes everyone into an alternate reality where apparently villains win and heroes lose, even though that isn't the case. Snow is an evil queen, basically, and Regina is Snow, with basically role reversals. That's really a pretty fun gag. Henry is the only one not affected by this, as he is from the Land Without Magic. So he is from this world. So he's not affected by all this. So he takes Isaac into this world and tries to, well, get them all out of it. Now, again, they set it up as a place where heroes lose and villains win, but yet Rumpel is a heroic fighter. Why? If this is supposed to be a world where villains win, then shouldn't he still be the Dark One, but he doesn't get any bad reception, and he's still a bad guy. But no, he's a great guy. This doesn't really make much sense. So they get everything back to normal after finding out a few things are right, and Hook fake dies and all that. They get everything back to normal, mostly through Henry becoming the next author. Something I really, really like. As Rumpel is dying from his darkened heart, he kills the apprentice. The darkness does, actually, not Rumpel himself. But they ask to somehow save him, and they take the darkness out of his heart, but cannot leave it for anyone. As the darkness goes rampant and off, it goes into Regina, but then Emma steps in as she becomes the next Dark One. So yeah, that's the ending of Once Upon a Time Season 4B, aka the Queens of Darkness arc. It's awful, and we will get into more reasons, the characterization, in the comments, but the story itself was awful, as I've kept saying. But honestly, it's not the worst thing ever. The last 2 episodes, I actually really like this alternate reality thing, and I like Henry becoming the author. It's a very good part to his character. I like these last 2. I like the role reversal of Snow and Regina. I like how they handled all the characters. It's a really interesting one. I'm interested, but it's not to be. And there are some good things of this season, but the more in characterization, I guess, than the story. But let's just get into the characters, and we'll talk about why they fail spectacularly. Firstly, we have Emma, who is a really bad character this season. She's pretty unlikable. She's supposed to be. But the thing is, I don't think she's as unlikable as the plot wants us to tell her. I mean, she is completely in the right to be that angry at Snow and Charming. Completely. I mean, if it takes her this long to forgive him, I don't blame her. I just don't, okay? They did a horrible thing, and they deserve that from Emma, and it's like a bit confusing of how they think it's done. But this is supposed to be a thing which almost turns her over edge, and her killing Cruella is supposed to be like what sets off, but again, most people say that was a necessary act, it didn't mean to, but when it wasn't really, I mean, it was a bit quick in the moment, so they could have got there just in time. So it wasn't a complete accident, and it wasn't as necessary as like Chorus was, as I said. Overall, I don't think Emma's the worst character this season. I don't mind her bond with Lily and how that helps her, but I don't like how he just turned this into like a darkness one. And also, we don't get the things we got last 3 seasons. But at least she's not as boring as she was in 4A, I guess. Now there's Regina, who is terrible sometimes. I don't know. She can be quite unlikable, but for some reason I really like Regina this season. A lot of the time she's the voice of reason, and sometimes she's quite funny. I mean, she still does stupid things like take out Belle's heart, which was unnecessary, and pretty horrible, but honestly, I don't mind her, even though it does undercut her entire arc of 4A with the Zelena twist. But it kind of gets better when she refuses the office power, even though she's not really getting what she wants. That is fun. That works. A lot, okay? Does. We have Snow and Charming, who, as I said, are really out of character this season, and it's annoying. They at least do something, which is better than the first half, I guess, but it's not, because I hate how they deal with them. I hate this whole Lily twist for reasons I've said before. I'm not sure I want to talk about this anymore, because, like, Snow is actually worse in this season than David. You'd expect it to go with David, but kind of like David's encouraging her, but Snow is kind of, I mean, she's the one who says, that's why we don't regret it. What? Screw off, both of you. Both of them are acting like jerks and don't deserve a forgiveness. We don't do many good things in this season. They're just bad. And they're bad parents, they're bad people. That's just what they feel like. And also, Snow's not the mayor anymore. That storyline was the most pointless thing ever. We have Rumpel, who honestly doesn't feel as bad as he was in the first half. I mean, he was awful in the first half, and he's still the main villain here. They still destroy his characterization, but now they've already destroyed his characterization. I guess I stopped getting angry. I was more angry last time. But at least he's not like lying to Belle 24/7 because he doesn't interact with her that often and lying to everyone. I mean, it's kind of strange, but whatever. But anyway, I do kind of like his interactions with the Queen's Darkness as well. It's still really stupid and he's more evil than he ever was before, which might be the point because of his heart going blacker. But we don't explain this. We don't explain how it is that his heart is growing dark, and we don't explain how it's happening or why it's fully happening. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And unreasonable. What is going on with all this? What? Belle, who is kind of unnecessary. I mean, I talked about how she was one of my favourite parts of 4A, but here in 4B, she just doesn't do anything. Again, she's back to not doing anything at her entire around Rumple. Even though she's not actually interacting with Rumple that much. Because, well, she's there. It still does. Like, she has this, like, fling with Will Scarlet for no reason, just to cause more drama. But it's not well enough. This stuff with Belle doesn't work. It's just annoying. Hook this season is more pointless than I remember. He had more of a point in the first half, but I almost forgot to talk about him here. He is just Emma's boyfriend. That's simply all he is. His rivalry with Rumple is there a little bit, but that's it, really. I'm not interested. He doesn't do much. Well, it's better than Season 5, Hook, but we'll get to that when we get to it. And now, Henry. He does nothing this half season until the last 2 episodes. I can't remember that much scenes with him. I guess he also hides the page, but that's it. He hides the page and the finale, where He saves everyone, which is great for him. I love those 2 episodes and and I like him because of the authors. Very charismatic, it makes sense for him, and overall, pretty good character. And I like how the last 2 episodes handled him. It's really interesting. While I liked Will Scarlet in the last in the first half, I don't really like him in the second. He doesn't do much other than be Belle's boyfriend. That's it. So I have even less to say about him. He's just Belle's new boyfriend who Rumple's after. That's it. He doesn't have any mention in the wider plots in both halves. So there's the main characters, which I didn't have too much to say about, I guess. Now here's the secondary characters, where there's actually quite a lot to talk about this season. I mean, quite a lot. So, here we go. Let's start with the Queens of Darkness. First up, Ursula. She's nothing. She's just a sea witch. She's not funny. She's not interesting. They seem to give her a weird backstory where is kind of she's Ariel in this world, basically. It's sort of weird. And her father is Poseidon. But she's not the Ursula goddess we know, but she becomes as powerful as her. The backstory is really weird, and the stuff is really weird with her. Honestly, she works who she is, I guess, but she's nothing to write home about. We have Cruella de Vil, one of the best Disney villains ever, and the actress here does a great job capturing her feel. I really like Cruella. She is the right amount of evil. I love her focus episode where it tricks us that, yeah, she had a traumatic story, but no, she's villain all along. I like how just who she is. I like how evil she is. She's just amazing. I mean, I know that she's great in the original movie, but she's also great here. You can't do Cruella de Vil badly. Or maybe you can, I haven't seen her movie. But Cruella herself, I love her. I love her in this episode, in this off-season. She is hilarious. Her death's not bad too. And, yeah, I like her. We obviously have, well, Maleficent, who is a complete disappointment. Maleficent has appeared before, unlike Cruella and Ursula, who are new characters. Maleficent appeared in episode 2, and then was fought as a dragon in 2 other episodes. Now, and she was playing with Aurora, but it's stupid because she is stupid. I mean, the whole storyline of her being pregnant just feels so forced. And it doesn't feel like, listen, it doesn't feel like she's anything like too evil this season. And it doesn't feel like she's like the evil and loving it Maleficent we know. It doesn't capture the full feel we got in the original movie, Sleeping Beauty. And it just doesn't. It just doesn't interest me. I do like her friendship with Regina, though. I do kind of like that. So it's not like this character is all terrible. Like, not really. Her daughter, Lily, is a bad look on a chain. And she's really bad. Not played by a good actress. And she's poorly developed. I don't get. So she's a character who always makes bad decisions until maybe she finally made a good one when she when she said to stay in Storybrooke for a week. I still don't know why. Again, this storyline never shows up again. It's just completely forgotten about after this season. She says that she's gonna stay here, but she doesn't. It's just really weird. And then she just goes off. The flashbacks are nice, but the actual character of Lily is terrible. The whole storyline is just it is just broken. And it's no surprise if it gets completely forgotten about, because they might have realised it's terrible. Or maybe the actors just didn't want to come back. I have no fucking clue. Now let's talk about one of the characters who I think is one of the worst of the entire show. Isaac Heller, the author. Now, this character is a complete disappointment because... What? Because when you watch the show, you must think there is no author, right? Right? Well, that's what will make sense to me, that everyone writes their own stories, or like that the author will remain a mystery forever. But here, no, he's not. He's an actual person. If they were going to do this story, then they could have had it be revealed that there is no author. We all just write our own stories. The story doesn't decide everything. They're still in control, but it's not. But the author isn't fate. Not pushing them that much. He can still control them, but it's forbidden, so it's not what they think, like, at all. I don't know what to say. Because Isaac himself is annoying as a character. He does not have interesting... He's just broken. And, like, a lot of the time, you're just learning about... Making him a villain is stupid. Teaming him up with Rumple and, like, making his motivations, like, he just wants fame. Makes him just a really generic character. A really, really generic character. And he's not interesting at all. I don't like him. And this author storyline, it's referenced again. Henry becoming the author is a big thing. This author storyline gets gets worse in season 5 as the author lore is even more breakable. Before we end this segment, I just want to quickly touch on The Apprentice, because he is one of the dumbest people I've ever seen. We don't really get that many things with The Apprentice here. He's just... I'm the wise guy who we go to occasionally, and he makes no sense within the canon of the show. Because, Rumple, how the hell did you not just try to contact The Apprentice? Why? Because he obviously knew The Apprentice existed. So why didn't he try and contact The Apprentice to find a Land Without Magic? Because he had full access to the Land Without Magic at all fucking times! Didn't he? So he makes no sense in that case. And he's not a wise old man because he trapped Isaac in a book. He trapped the author in a book. Just... Did he really think that was the best idea? Did you think he didn't hide the key in like a very special place to know of facts? It's just dumb! Why did he not? He's not a great character whatsoever. Robin is also in this season, I guess. Now, I want to just talk about him anyway because, well, I said I would just cover him for like the whole season. And he's just fine, I guess. Sean Maguire's good at playing him. And honestly, he's a better character on rewatch. And he does much more in Season 4 than Season 5. And when I'm going to talk about him in the main character section. Vegeta and Robin, I still don't feel like they have much chemistry. Despite everything. And a lot of the stuff. But I do kind of like his backstory episode. And his relationship with Will. And his reaction to Zelina. I don't mind him. I don't mind him too much, I guess. I won't talk about Zelina here because nothing to say other than the story itself making no sense. So that was Season 4B, aka the Queens of Darkness arc. It's terrible. It's awful. I hate it. As you can tell throughout this review of how positive I've been. It is, in my opinion, the worst season of the show. Worse than Season 5 and Season 6. And in my opinion, even worse than our Hyperion Heights spin-off. I mean that! Now, what do I need? I need to sit down. A lot of the time this season was really hard to watch, but I thought I wasn't going to get this video done by Friday. But I did, miraculously, so no. If anyone made it to the end, well done. Thank you. Thank you for watching this far. Can't believe it! You made this through with terrible editing and unfitting pictures like all my reviews. All of them. But in general, I like doing this, but this season was really hard to sit through. This is my second rewatch of the show, so I've watched it 3 times, including this time. And Season 4 is always the hardest to sit through, mostly because of Rumpel's character destruction, Lily, and the Lily stuff. Those 2 things in particular. Those 2 things bother me. So, while Season 4 is my worst season, if you like it, if you think it's the best season, and you completely disagree with me overall, please leave a comment as to why you think it's a great season, and why you think all my points are bullshit. I like discussion. I like you to discuss why you actually really like the season. Well, yeah. Season 5 is another beast. I understand why it's way more hated than Season 4. Because Season 5 is way more divisive. And I think Season 5 is the most interesting season of the show. I still think it's bad, so you're still going to hear a lot of complaining, but there's definitely stuff to talk about. And again, I think it's the most interesting season of the show on how it got made. And I like to talk about it. Especially the first half. So stay tuned for that and my next short video, which will definitely be shorter than this. And my Super Smash video might not be. So, I will see you in my next video. Please like and subscribe if you can. And if you didn't, make sure to leave a dislike and a hate comment, because we always like to keep our algorithm happy. Also, follow me on social media in the links below. I currently haven't got a single follower. That isn't someone I already know from Twitter, or he is a bot. So please follow me on there if you can. I'll see you in my next video.